And welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Geek Centurions. It's your boy Eli.
It's me, Joe.
And we're back to talk about more Bad Batch. Episode, was it 4 and 5?
Uh, yeah, I think so. 4 and 5. Yeah. 4 and
Because
5.
we did
Yeah,
the
yeah,
first
yeah.
two episodes. And then,
We did episode 3 on its own,
yeah. And
and
then
then yeah,
we took a break.
to do another episode, a different episode.
Yeah.
Now we're back with 4 and 5.
Yes,
Yeah,
and so we're going
of
to talk
course.
about episode 4 and 5, The Bad Batch. And I'm like I said, I told you this earlier before the recording. I am so glad we're doing this in chunks because, like, there's not much to talk about. It's very episodic.
Yeah, although at the same time, we are still getting bits of story being, strung along. Obviously being connecting tissues and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And at least so far, especially in episode 4, we get a face that we should be familiar with if you've seen the other Star Wars shows that have been.
I
on
will
here.
say that does not look like you know who.
Yeah, but like,
What can you do?
yeah, I think we'll get into it later. But let's just.
We'll be talking about episode. Like I said, we were talking about episode 4 and 5, but we're gonna add on something else to this conversation, and that is the recent comments from Jj Abrams about the sequel trilogy, and us being, yeah, JJ, we know.
Yeah.
You didn't think we noticed?
Yeah. It's kind of it's definitely gonna be interesting considering his comments. And it's also just very nice to just tangle it all in as well, seeing this new Star Wars content and like, just seeing how one of the big figureheads of the sequel trilogy sort of coming out and just talking about in retrospect about all the stuff that happened with the sequel trilogy. But yeah, let's just jump into episode 4 of Bad Batch.
And what happens in episode 4, Joy? Tell me.
This episode, basically, the Bad Batch are planning out like to hide out on a planet. I forget the name, but they're like, we need rations and we need credits because we need rations because we're out. And the only way to get more rations is to get credits, so we're gonna have to sell some stuff. So they drop by on this planet, Pantor.
Yeah.
And they have to do a bit of haggling with the dude that they're docking with. He's like, because obviously he's supposed to run a scan, but the signature of the ship is on all the channels, and if it gets scanned, basically the Empire knows that they're there. So they sort of do a little bit of haggling with the dude. He gets some money out of it, but also he also makes a deal with an apparent bounty hunter. Who's like, hey, listen, I hear you've been looking for this ship. If you send some credits my way, I might be able to tell you. And that sort of leads into the conflict as Omega, Hunter, and Echo are out selling stuff and getting credits. Tech and Wrecker are just sort of fixing the ship and trying to switch the signature out. And in order to get some credits, Hunter decides to sell Echo.
Which is pretty funny.
It's pretty funny because Echo disguises himself as a droid, and the shop keeps like, I ain't buying your stuff, but that droid over there looks interesting. And he's like, I don't know if I can sell you. I'll give you 2,000 credits. And Echo just very much like,
Bitch, I'm more than that.
yeah, I'm worth more than that.
Worth more than...
I'm worth more than 2,000 credits. And he always does. He's very like, I don't want to be sold, man. It's like, listen, all right, I'll just give you the signal and you just run out. It's that simple. It's like, fine, but I'm not being sold for 2,000.
Make it 3,000. We're good.
It's like Hunter goes, how about 4,000? 3,000 credits. Fine, you got a deal. It's like, now
You can tell he's like,
damn it. I'm worth more than 3,000 credits. Damn it.
I survived.
Yeah. And Omega gets a bit distracted by seeing these weird alien dogs. She gets lost, and she meets up with this nice lady.
Who we all know.
Yeah, it's
Ming-Na Wen's character from Mandalorian, whose name escapes me.
they say it. It's freaking isn't it
I was like, yeah, you might want to double check on that.
Yeah, I'll double check on that, but you can finish up.
Yeah, and so she essentially gains Omega's trust until Hunter quickly realized, oh, she's not good news. So she essentially, it becomes a chase around the city with Omega, Minoan's character, and
Fennec Shad.
Fennec Shad. Thank you.
I knew it started with an F.
Yeah, and I was thinking that too. So it was Fennec and Omega. They're, Fennec's taking Omega. They're off in the chase. It becomes a whole chase episode. And, of course, we don't know why she... Well, actually, no, we do know who hired her. We don't know why, though.
Yeah. Basically, it does, like, eventually, yeah. Obviously, they go through a chase. Everybody sort of tries to help out. Echo reconvenes with the crew. And, they have... Because, they have, the droids he's sort of hanging out with help him... fix the ship fast enough, and they escape off world, and very much the mystery is very much okay. So this lady's definitely a bounty hunter, and she's after Omega, but why? But we kind of, sort of like we can already kind of tell like who's after her, which I mean,
yeah, it's the Kaminoan.
Yeah, it's the Kaminoans because obviously she's super valuable to them for unknown reasons yet, but I mean. It's definitely pretty obvious that they were the ones that hired her. But yeah, that's sort of where the episode sort of ends off of just like wondering who is this bounty hunter, and and also Fennec is very much like
I'll find them.
Contacting her leads, just being like, hey, I lost her, but I'll find her.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know where they're going.
Yeah,
which leads into the next episode where they're trying to get information about Fennec, and which leads them to a mercenary bar led by a character named Sid.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where Mima has become very episodic, where every episode is one own little thing. Where in the last episode, it's a car chase, basically a giant chase sequence. This one is a rescue op.
Yeah, because Sid is very much at the beginning, he's like, I don't know who Sid is. Get out of my bar. And Omega's like, but you're Sid, though. I'm pretty sure. And it's like, okay, kid, you're smart.
I'll work with you guys.
Yeah. It's like, listen, I got a job. Obviously, Hunter are like...
All right, we'll do it.
They're like, listen, we need to find out who this bounty hunter is. And it's like, I don't know who she is, but if you do this job for me, rescue this... is it Miko? No, it's not Miko. It's...
Mito, something like that.
Micho, I think.
Michio.
Yeah. This rescue this kid or whatever from slavers, then maybe we split the bounty 70-30, then I can get some info for you. And it's like, fine, we'll do it. And they go in against some of these slave traders. The Bad Batch get caught. Yeah. Omega doesn't get caught because she stays behind, obviously, because
she saves the day.
Yeah, with her help, she's able to help set the Bad Batch free, and then they sort of trying to set the slaves free, but then they realize that's not Micho. That's Micho.
Yeah, it was like as soon as this episode was going, it's like, oh, we're gonna have that moment where like, it's this person, but actually it was that person all along.
Yeah, and by the way, it's not a person; it's a Rancor.
We're not gonna say whose Rancor it belongs to, but once you figure it out, you're like, oh.
Yeah, think about someone who needs a Rancor in the Star Wars universe, and you'll know pretty much. You'll know who's here for the Rancor.
Yeah, a moment when that character showed up, I was like, oh, there, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right, I see what you did there.
Yeah, so obviously, yeah, so basically, they do the bit of the mix-up. Wrecker has to like wear down the Rancor because it's a bit of it's a small Rancor, it's a baby Rancor, so it's not only
baby.
It's a slightly bigger than Wrecker, so he's just trying to wrestle it just to get it tired so that they can
which I love.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
It's pretty funny.
But they said
they sell everything, and then they only got the name for the lady, but they don't know what she wants.
Yeah, Sid gets the info. She's like, this chick's Fennec.
Mm-hmm.
Her name's Fennec. she's a new bounty hunter, but she's rising really high, and it looks like whoever she hired her is like a direct commission. Like it's not like you know, like it's not like someone put a bounty on Omega.
No, someone asked her to do it.
Yeah, someone's like asked her to go find her. But obviously Sid's like, listen, all right, you know, you guys are doing good. You know, if you guys need any money and stuff, you know.
Yeah, so that's basically the episode.
Yeah, like we said earlier, it's not wholly complex, these 2 episodes, but they do broaden
the world, because now we know, because like I said, there's a clear overarching thing. It's not that prevalent, but it's there, and it's what is Omega and why do these people want her.
Yeah, which is sort of like, and
also the slightly changing of the Empire.
Yeah, because we do still see some Empire stuff going on in episode 4, and it seems most people, at least the people on Panticore, you know, are elated, you know, that the war's over. But you know, obviously, you know, not knowing what's going to go down with the Empire. But yeah, you know, these 2 episodes are pretty straightforward, but they do continue the plot. At least in terms of like, okay, we have a new threat that's chasing down the Bad Batch. It's Fennec, which, by the way, you know, just a minute, we mentioned earlier, she doesn't look exactly like her actor.
No.
But I feel like, to play a bit of a devil's advocate, I think it's mostly because like this is a younger Fennec, right? And like I think it's 2 things. One, this is a younger Fennec, because when we see her in the Mandalorian, she's, you know, obviously much older. And Mandalorian takes place, you know, in between the Return of the Jedi and the Force Awakens. This is taking place in between episode 3 and 4. So, you know, I don't think she's gonna look exactly like her actress, Ming-Na Wen. But at the same time, I also think it's just partly just due to the art style.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's mostly just the art style that's really weird, because they make her look really blocky.
Yeah, and I think it does come down to probably just art style, and also just this is a younger Fennec, so she's not gonna look exactly like her actor looks like now.
Yeah, no, I don't hate it. It's just like it's very weird.
It's a bit off-putting because you've seen this character in live action before, right? It's not like Bo-Katan, where we've only seen her in the Clone Wars, and then we see her in live action, and it's like, okay, cool, interesting.
Yeah,
right.
She looks a little bit like her actor.
Yeah, this is just the reverse, and it's a little weird.
Yeah.
But
no, I'll let you finish.
Besides that, you know, 2 solid episodes.
Yeah, so far it's been a good. These episodes have been a good, like 7-8-ish. Nothing's been blowing my mind. The first episode was probably the best one out of all these recent ones. But so far we got a solid 7 right now for both.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, like I said, it's there's not much to talk about with these 2 episodes. Like, literally, we only have, like, 15 minutes in? 14 minutes in?
Yeah. It's very... You know, these episodes are, you know, that's sort of the thing when it comes to these sort of... an episodic show like this. That doesn't have, like, a straightforward, like, every episode is continuing the plot line and everything is vitally important. It's like, no, it's our characters going through various adventures, while at the same time slowly progressing that plot, keeping it in the background.
Yeah.
So that way you sort of like, when it finally does return to being the main focus of an episode, it's like, okay, you know, we're not going to be confused by any sort of rapid developments that happen, right?
And it's slowly, I think it's going to be a show where slowly we start revealing more stuff, and then we have more to talk about. Because, like, say something like The Mandalorian, which we were doing, every episode had something to talk about.
Yeah, I also think partially is just because The Mandalorian, you know, strive for like 40 to like 50-minute episodes. Here is obviously just 30 minute, like 30-minute episodes.
Yeah.
So it's not like The Mandalorian. I think just because of its time, the runtime of each episode allowed us to have more to talk about, and as well as the mystery of Grogu. It's like, where did he come from? All this stuff and that sort of speculation here. We do have, I guess, the mystery of like Omega, but it's more sort of like, why is she important?
Yeah.
We know that she's a clone, but we need to know like why the Kaminoans just want her on the down low from the Empire and all this stuff so much.
And I mean, there's a reason why some of us are speculating that she may be Force sensitive, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an interesting speculation, and obviously I think these 2 episodes don't even add further evidence to that theory.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I mean, I think most of the speculation is just going to be continuing to be like just things will be sprinkled along as we go forward, and that's sort of like just how we have to view this show, I guess, in terms of trying to be speculative. But yeah, overall, not a whole lot to talk about.
No.
But that doesn't mean
it's a bad show.
No, obviously not. I mean, Avatar: The Last Airbender is very much like that.
Yeah,
and everybody loves that show.
Yeah, because people are gonna hate me for this, but I did not enjoy season 1 as much as everyone else of Avatar: Last Airbender.
Fair enough. I think I get where you're coming from with that. And I feel like I think most people would probably agree, like, second season onward is where the show really starts to pick up a lot more.
Hell yeah, season 2 was great.
Obviously. Yeah, so yeah, I feel like a lot of the best episodes are in season 2.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, overall, we're just gonna have to keep waiting and seeing how the plot and the story progresses, and just sort of be like, oh, that's interesting, right?
Now let's go on to the Jj Abrams talk. So in a recent, I want to say it was an interview.
I think so. It was probably, yeah.
Yeah, it was basically Jj Abrams basically confirmed that, looking back at the sequel trilogy, was it Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, he now knows the importance of having a plan for a trilogy, for something as akin to this. Now, again, like I said earlier, for most of us fans, we're like, yeah, no shit, JJ. No shit, you should have had a plan. And I don't know. And a lot of people will start blaming different people, blaming this and that. But the fact that everyone just come out and says, yeah, we didn't know what we were doing, kind of tells you, one, that people didn't know what they're doing. But also, they didn't know how to structure what they wanted to say, because that was the main problem with the sequel trilogy. It wasn't planned out. You had J.J. Abrams setting up the ideas, and then Rian Johnson coming in for the second one, where he kind of was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I kind of want to subvert the expectations of the fans. And then J.J. Abrams coming back to, like, clean up the mess.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we gotta remember as well, like, the third movie wasn't even going to have JJ on the helm. It was going to be Colin Trevorrow, the director of I think the first Jurassic World movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, who the hell knows where that was going to go, right?
Yeah.
Like, definitely, like, the main reason why the Rise of Skywalker is the way it is, because essentially JJ was essentially sent in to do essential damage control.
Mm-hmm.
But trying to, like, just try to find some way to, like, resolve it. But yeah, it's I think it's a little, I guess, kind of funny that he sort of just states the obvious of, like, when it comes to a franchise like Star Wars, with a new trilogy continuing the original trilogy, that just having a rough idea of what you want to do probably doesn't isn't sufficient enough to plot out
Mm-hmm.
your epic story. Because I like to imagine that the only trilogy you can't say this for is for the original trilogy, because obviously, George Lucas probably didn't think of a trilogy at the time. He was just thinking
Oh,
about,
no.
he was thinking about just
No.
making one movie, and then he got big, and it's like, okay, let's make another one.
Yeah.
Let's continue the
I
story.
mean, what was the name of that one book? I think I think it's also a comic book. There was a book that was his rough idea for a sequel. If he couldn't get the funding enough to make what would eventually be The Empire Strikes Back, it was Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
Yeah, I've heard of this.
Yeah, and in that one, it is completely different. Like, no way is it similar to Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Like, in that one, the main two leads is just Leia and Luke. And even in the... Even you could even see that in, like, the first two, in Empire Strikes Back and New Hope, that the idea of them being brother and sister was not in there originally.
No, obviously there's a lot of stuff in those two movies that like definitely make it apparent that like they weren't planned to be siblings, but by the end, by Return of the Jedi,
There wasn't even an idea of her being force sensitive.
Yeah, So like obviously like you can't really. I get like probably some people being like, well, the original Star Wars trilogy wasn't planned out. It's like, yeah, but like
they had ideas. They had time. Like you said this before, they had time to work it out.
Yeah, like you got to remember that the original Star Wars trilogy wasn't even going to be like a trilogy at first. It was just going to be a single movie. And like you said, if George didn't get if Lucas didn't get the money for another movie, then he was like, screw it. This is a book. This is the continuation right here.
Well, it's more like this would have been what I would have done if I didn't get the money. It would have been this,
right?
Because the idea was like it was gonna be because Star Wars New Hope is kind of low budget.
In the grand scheme of things, yes.
Yes, compared to most of them and compared to the movies at the time, it's kind of low budget.
Yeah, it still has I guess groundbreaking special effects at the time, but yes, you could say that.
Yeah, but essentially, like if he couldn't get enough funding to continue it, he was gonna make what was Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which is still a little bit of like a low budget kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So,
and in that one, again, you can look it up. The story, it's completely different. In that one, they would have went more for a romance between Luke and Leia.
Yeah.
And then that's what I'm saying. Like the idea of people saying like, well, like you said, the original trilogy didn't have planned. No, but he had time to come up with an idea of what can go next.
Yeah,
because Splinter of the Mind's Eye could have worked also as a sequel for New Hope if Empire Strikes Back wasn't able to be made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's so JJ's comments are very much. Yeah, I do agree. It's very much like, yeah, I feel like it's like, well, of course that makes perfect sense. And I mean, if anything, I don't want to put it sorely on JJ's shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
Simply just because I feel like part of that has to be on Lucasfilm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the creative team behind there, because like they couldn't. I find it a bit odd that they would just be like, JJ, you can handle it from here. All right, don't worry. Here's a rough idea. Just go wild. Here's the keys to all of the Star Wars universe. Have fun with it, right? Because I feel like it's a bit irresponsible, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with a franchise like Star Wars, to just be like, we're gonna make a sequel trilogy, but we're not gonna plan anything out.
Well, I don't think it's that they didn't plan anything out. It's more like we're gonna let them be them.
Yeah.
We're gonna give them a little too much freedom.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem. Because, like, I've said this before about Last Jedi. There are aspects of Last Jedi that are, in theory, good ideas. Execution is questionable at best. But there was no idea. They didn't plan that out. You said it before. Last Jedi feels like it's a reaction to Force Awakens, and Rise of Skywalker is a reaction to The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I think we mentioned. Yeah, I did say that. I think when we talked about just as a whole how the sequel trilogy sort of feel is that like if The Last Jedi seems like it's sort of like a response to The Force Awakens being too similar to the OG. Like, a bigger Death Star, another, like, a bit over reliance on the original trilogy and various other aspects of it. So, Last Jedi definitely seems like, fine, we're gonna flip the script, we're gonna subvert your expectations, I guess. Like, and just do all these sorts of things. How do you like that? We're different now. And it's like, no, why'd you do that? Stop being different. And it's like,
or like, that didn't make sense for.
Oh yeah. It's either that didn't make sense for this character to do it, or it's too different. I hate it. And it's like, God damn it! And then JJ has to come in and be like, hey, all right, you guys want things to be back to normal, or you want me to fix everything? Fine, I'll fix everything. And it's like, you didn't even fix anything. You just made it worse. It's like, everything that happened in The Last Jedi, all the characters that are introduced, nothing, nada. We're giving them nothing. You like that, right? It's like, why would you do this?
Yeah.
You didn't even fix it. It's like that image of that meme image of a Tuxedo Mask from Sailor Moon being like, I fixed everything, and Sailor Moon goes, but you didn't do anything. Exactly. he just turns around and runs away. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
In terms of just like the Rise of Skywalker trying to fix whatever Last Jedi problems are. It's like, but you didn't do anything though.
Yeah. And it's weird that in reality some aspects of the trilogy, the sequel trilogy, would make sense if you were able to, like, execute it better.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because I feel like there is a way to like take all the elements that were introduced in the sequel trilogy and make them better. I mean, I don't know if I said this when we talked about The Rise of Skywalker, but it would have probably felt more thematically, like, it would have felt thematic. It would make more thematic sense if Rey stayed dead and Ben was the last Skywalker.
Because he was the Rise of Skywalker.
He can rise as the last Skywalker and redeem himself, right? So, also the whole idea of Rey being nobody, I think, works. It just works. We didn't need her to be related to anyone special, but because everyone was fucking making a big deal about she's not related to anyone special, this is bullshit.
Or like was it that?
No. You know what it was? It was because in the Last Jedi, it's like you're a nobody, right?
Yeah.
You're not special or whatever, and people were like, I think people felt it was a bit of a what was the point?
Yeah.
Of her origin, like trying to make it mysterious. If it turns out that she's just a nobody, so I'm guessing JJ was like, fine, we'll get some payoff for this. You want her to be related to somebody? How about you?
Actually, you could have just say that, but just saying like you just couldn't accept the truth. That your parents were shitty.
Yeah,
because like that would have been interesting. But like, yeah, Ray, your parents were shitty people.
They sold you.
Yeah,
that's just
it.
Yeah, but obviously they have to turn it around and be like, no, they sold you to protect you because, you're the granddaughter of fucking Palpatine. So yeah.
But I was just like, no. If you just kept it as like she was just sold off because like whatever reason, like her parents were shitty. It's like, and you could explain like the reason she kept having those visions was because like it's just her telling herself, no, this is what happened.
It's her trying to find some way to cope.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, that would have been amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just very much. Again, that's the sad thing with the sequel trilogy is that they have a lot of interesting ideas and concepts that, if worked right, could have been good, but it's just obviously, as JJ said, it's like, probably having a plan, not having a plan definitely made this a lot more difficult.
I think also it's just that it's just the way JJ writes.
No, yeah, I feel like I mentioned this before when we talked about The Rise of Skywalker.
No. We are basically reopening that wound.
Yeah, of like JJ's obsessive need to drop mystery boxes. If you go, like, you can go on YouTube, look up his TED Talk about like mystery boxes and being like, I like to do these mystery boxes where it's like it's a mystery and that tries to incentivize the audience to keep paying attention. But if the mystery is the only thing that's going for it, and at the end of it it's not interesting or satisfying, then what the fuck was the point of it, right? So, because
like that was the whole thing with Force Awakens. It's that it's all a mystery. Who's Rey? Why is she having these visions of this? Why is Ben Kenobi's like voice in the background? Why is her having Anakin's old lightsaber so important? Who is this masked man who looks like Vader or whatever? And is Finn a Jedi? Is he Force sensitive? And like, all those could have been easily answered in that one movie.
I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, to be fair, some of that stuff, at least I know for a fact, at least one of those was answered. Who was the masked man? It's Kylo Ren. It's it's the son of it's Ben Solo.
Son of Leia and Han Solo.
Yeah, like we at least get that answer.
Yeah.
So I mean, everything else.
I mean, that's the one thing. Like even the people who worked on it were like, yeah, we didn't enjoy being in it as much as you guys think we did.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, obviously, like, there's definitely some that got harassment and stuff, which is, no. But, I mean, I think Daisy Ridley, said it herself where she was like, we kind of, like, it was weird, like, we didn't even know, like, Rey, like, who Rey was supposed to be, essentially, right? Like, they were still trying to figure out up in the air, like, who is she going to be related to, and, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, because there was that conversation, like, even it was during it was during The Rise of Skywalker where she was like, I don't even know who we're doing this related thing anymore.
Yeah, so it's
heck, what's his name? The actor who played Finn.
John Boyega.
John Boyega. He was very upset because like they kept using him as like a marketing tool to say like, oh, here we go, we got a black Jedi as our main lead, but he's not a Jedi actually, and it's kind of dumb. Why didn't you just make him a Jedi? Because that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
But like, I know some people want to blame Rian Johnson for his involvement in like making Last Jedi and therefore being the center of like the problems. But really, the problems are just in the heads of the company and the people who were in charge of directing.
Well, yeah, I definitely agree to that extent. It's definitely on. I feel like it was on Lucasfilm because they're the studio, and at a certain point they should have realized, okay, let's map this out, right? Like even like after even after making The Force Awakens, they should have been like, okay, this is our first movie. Let's plan the rest of this out, right? Because I could see them maybe being like, okay, we have a rough idea how this first movie's gonna go, but once we get that first movie established,
once we set the pieces in play.
Yeah, that once we set up all these things in the first movie, let's try to, let's focus on a storyline with all that stuff from the first movie and just continue on for the next two movies. Instead, they're like, let's just let Rian Johnson just go out there and do whatever he feels like. And even then, right? Even like then with Rian Johnson and The Last Jedi, like they didn't have to like bring back JJ to somehow wrangle everything back up or something like that. They could have. I feel like they should have. I know there's probably going to some people that would have like hated if they kept going in the direction of what Rian Johnson was setting up. But I feel like at that point you just got to commit.
Yeah.
Like at that point it's like you got to commit. You can like maybe salvage some of that stuff. But you got to just commit to where The Last Jedi was going. Right? Because at least then you would have. I feel like some people would have been like, at least it feels cohesive. It's not like the last movie is just trying to retroactively fix various various things that happened in The Last Jedi, but at the same time trying to tell the finale of its own story, as well as adding extra details that probably would have been established in the second movie, but wasn't because it's a whole mess.
Yeah. Honestly, where can we go with this? Because I feel like we're going to be talking in complete circles at this point.
Well, I mean, I think the only thing I can say about it is it's a lesson in. I think what happened with The Last Jedi is just what happened with the sequel trilogy is just a lesson in terms of you have to if we're gonna continue these large franchises, then there has to be some sort of like plan. Like not, and I don't want to say like in terms of like we don't like, because I know some people very much do not like, rather find it slightly annoying, I guess, that if everything had the Marvel formula of like Kevin Feige being the head producer and sort of like trying to make sure each movie works in a certain puzzle and like everything fits together nicely, in that sort of sense. Like people are like, no, you should let the creatives do, the director or the writers or whatever do what they feel needs to be done. At the same, it's just you need a balance. Like, okay, JJ, you can direct this first film, but you gotta set up. These are the things we want out of our trilogy. You gotta set these things up, and then if Rian Johnson comes in, it's like, listen, Rian, these
are the story threads that we're going with.
These are the story threads we got going with. We need these things to continue in a coherent way. Everything else is up to you. How you want to shoot it, how things should look, if you want to go with a slightly darker tone, whatever. That stuff is on you, but these main plot threads need to continue somehow into the last movie. And that's where we're going to conclude it. Yeah. Right? Like, you need, like, the creatives at Lucasfilm needed to have some sort of plan. Or at least, like some bullet points of, like, okay. Yeah. All right, like, this is our sequel trilogy. These are some of the things we want to do. Yeah. Let's make sure we hit all those bullet points. If we need to refine this after the first movie, we can, So let's just try to figure this out,
And I think, and some people blame, like I said earlier, people will want to blame the palm on this and that somewhere else, but really, you kind of need not essentially a plan, but an idea of a plan. And I didn't want to make this comparison. I really didn't, because it's too much of an obvious comparison. And the obvious comparison is with Marvel. Because Marvel, you can watch, say, Phase 1, each of the movies, and really you don't see much of a plan. Now, I wouldn't say there's much of a plan there, but there's an idea of a plan that ends up with where we are with the first Avengers movie. Talking about specifically Phase 1, so Iron Man 1 and 2, Cap, Hulk, Thor.
Yeah.
Those movies, right? So, like, when you're watching Iron Man, you don't think of the plan, where this is going to go. All you're thinking about is just, like, this is the movie itself, and as we go along, we'll continue what, we have to in order to get to the Avengers movie, in order to get to Avengers 2, until all the way we get to Endgame. And now we're setting up more plans. Well, not setting up more plans, but we're like, we're setting some stuff up. We'll see where it goes. The chances are, we're going to have to make some changes along the way.
Yeah, and I think...
Because remember, Spider-Man was not part of the plan.
Obviously, it wasn't part of the plan. I mean, they were definitely... I think when you look into the story of how Spider-Man got into Civil War, it was very much a behind-closed-doors thing. Mm-hmm. Them trying to figure out some sort of, deal they could do. And if, that deal fell apart, they were like, okay, then let's just... let's just keep Black Panther, have him in that sort of elevated role, give him like even more screen time than he has in Civil War to balance that out, right? Heck, when they introduced the Civil War movie, and had Chadwick Boseman show up as Black Panther on stage with Robert Downey Jr. and Steve.
What you about to call him, Steve Rogers?
Yeah,
Chris Evans.
Chris Evans. No, actually, I was gonna say Steve Evans. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not right.
Do you remember Steve Evans? No, exactly.
Yeah, they do a bit of a thing. It's like whose side are you on? Black Panther. It's like, listen, all right, I think I might be on my own side thing.
Yeah.
So there's like hyping up like, oh, he's gonna have a real big,
yeah,
role, and he still does have a big role in Civil War, but because obviously they were able to hammer out the Spider-Man deal with them, Spider-Man also is featured pretty heavily in the movie. So yeah, like that's the thing with the Marvel thing, and I think it's sort of what I allude to is like you can have your plan, but you can still be flexible with it, right?
Did you really think we're gonna have a Thor 4, or they were gonna make an Eternals movie?
I mean, yeah, like a lot of those things are pretty crazy. Obviously, I think other stuff was that friggin' Inhumans was supposed to be its own movie, but then obviously the plan changed, and now it was a TV show, which did not turn out well.
We don't talk about it unless you want us to talk about it. You're not gonna want us to talk about it.
Yeah. So overall, there's an argument to be made that a plan can work, but you always got to be flexible with it, because obviously, I think there's a saying that every well-laid plan eventually goes awry, or something like that. Like even the best intentions sometimes have,
yeah.
It's like, what is it? Not Murphy's Law, right?
Yeah.
If something can go wrong, it will go wrong.
Yeah.
So that's why, at least when it comes to... That's why I feel like Lucasfilms, at the very least, should have been like... all right, let's try to, hammer these things out. And if something goes wrong with our creative process, we have something to, pivot, right? But yeah, overall, JJ stating the obvious. It's if anything, I feel like it'd be bigger news if Ryan Johnson were to come out and it's like, yeah, there probably should have been a plan.
Yeah.
Or hell, even someone from the Lucas creative team, whether it's their president or whatever, would come out as like, I don't think they would come out and say, yeah, we could have done better with the sequel trilogy. No, they probably would just be like, what are you talking about? We made $1 billion. Like all 3 movies made billions of dollars. We're fine. Sure, we may have lost a bunch of fans, but Look at Mandalorian is good though.
Yeah, I mean that's the one thing I could say. Like their other projects are at least are enjoyed.
Yeah.
Movie wise, it's 50-50, maybe less.
Yeah, like
the other projects have been pretty good.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you can definitely say that at least. Like it's not like Lucasfilms definitely still is able to make good Star Wars content. Obviously, as we, there's the last season of Clone Wars, Mandalorian, huge hit. We're talking about Bad Batch, which is also pretty good. So they still have the potential to be good at it, but obviously, they just need probably a plan, which all these shows probably had some form of plan. So yeah, overall, yeah, I mean, like I doubt Lucasfilms would listen to our critiques, but next time plan this out. Boy, imagine if the guys that made Game of Thrones were still getting their Star Wars trilogy.
Oh, I would not be okay with that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, guys, I think that's where a good place to end it on. Joy, I think I love your input on all this stuff. But if you guys want to check out more of our stuff, be sure to follow us on social media at Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at the Geek Centurions. And if you go to the Instagram where we're most active, you'll find a link tree to all of our podcasting sites that we are officially part of, like Castbox, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, basically a lot of other sites. And we also have a link to our Patreon, so where you can support us in any form of way if you so choose to. You have no obligation to, but we would happily appreciate it. And yeah, that's about it. Bad Batch still pretty solid. JJ stating the obvious, and we're basically talking about why it's pretty obvious and why the importance of a plan is needed. And yeah, it's been your boy Eli.
It's been me, Joe,
and we are the Geek Centurions. So you guys have a good one. Peace.